You're just famous for.
Well, as you know, I watch a lot of murder mysteries and things like that because I love the psychology behind it. And you'll be
Yeah,
surprised how many people are actually doing it because of the attention,
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
that fame mentality.
yeah,
Sick,
yeah, yeah,
sick.
yeah, yeah. I'd love to know how many people like in our industry do watch, because I watch a lot of that stuff too, because I'm fascinated by what makes someone be a criminal, and it is fascinating, eh? When you get into the
Yeah.
mind of
Well,
these people.
another,
So I watch them too, but with curiosity, not with like
yeah, not with malevolence or anything. Another one I love watching as well. I know we're completely off topic, but another
yeah.
one I love watching as well is like children that have been raised by animals or
Oh
children
yeah,
that have those past life memories of
yeah,
being like
that's
a
cool.
Japanese fighter pilot or anything
Yeah,
like that. And just next level stuff. Or people with split personalities, how
yeah.
one personality has diabetes and then the other personality
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a really good old movie about a woman that had different personalities, and it's one of the ones that you watch when you study dissociative disorder. I'll have to get the name. If anyone wants the name, ask below and I'll find it, because I
Mm.
think you can watch it on YouTube. And it's just a really old, and it is just fascinating. I think she had a lot of personalities. But for me, and they use it as part of, yeah, like I said, training into dissociative disorder.
Mm.
It's it's fascinating watching it, that's for sure.
Another really good one on YouTube, I think it's called My Weird Habit or something along those lines. And it's about people that create weird habits, like they chew on like grass or something like that. And like there was one lady that she decided, it's really gross, but I was fascinated by how you came to that conclusion. She decided that she would eat the padding out of her bra after she's worn it. Like that's something that she snacks on. I was like, that's not good for your digestive system, but I want to know, where did this start?
Yeah, it's really interesting, hey,
Yeah.
how the
And
mind
you
creates
watch
it.
them the way they look and they move and the way they express themselves and like, oh, okay. Can we have you in
You can
hypnosis,
see there's
please? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
which
I
like
want you to
ties.
volunteer for hypnosis. I would love to work with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How many times have you said that? I Every time I listen, I don't listen to radio often, but every time I listen to the radio, they're talking about someone, or you hear about someone on the news, or you watch like it used to be 2020. I don't know if it's still called that, but
Mhm.
they have these people coming on with these weird things, and you're just like, oh, maybe I should reach out, because this is
Yes.
something that hypnosis can help massively with, but
Yeah.
they're stuck in mainstream and they don't know. Like it's just, you know what I mean? They're really a lot of the time the people are missing what's actually going
Mm.
on, and you don't know that until you can see that they're actually in trance, like while they're doing that stuff.
Yes,
It's
yes,
interesting, eh?
absolutely, absolutely. All right. So, would you like your question for
Yeah,
today?
always. It's my weird habit now. No, I'm kidding.
Trish triggered that one.
Yeah,
Is it normal or not to be passionate about the royal family?
I'd say no,
I
but
don't
I
think it
don't
is.
know. I think they have a lot of publicity, so I mean, you can't help
Yeah,
but see it. It's everywhere.
to me, it's kind of like the original Big Brother,
Oh yeah, yeah, say so. Yeah, all the
you
dynamic.
know? And the reality is, I know in Big Brother that they create like these challenges and, thing activities for these people to do. But that's what the royal family are doing. They're just doing it in a more political sense.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Or
So I'm
perhaps
not
it's
too
like a
sure.
Where's Wally thing, like can you spot the princess or the king or whoever wearing the same outfit within the first 12 months?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do like like at when they have a wedding or a funeral. I do like watching the extravagance of it. It reminds you of more old school times, because everything's
Yes.
so like, well, what are we
Yeah,
now?
a
Colorful
lost
and everything.
tradition.
Yeah, so I do like
Yeah.
watching the tradition of it big time. But I'm more fascinated, like, how can they afford that shit? Is it like fully gold with a massive crystal on the top?
I
I want
know,
one of those
right?
sticks. I want to
Uh,
hypnotize people with a gold stick with a crystal on the top. Like,
I don't think I could carry it. I don't know how many times John and I have been to like a super duper expensive hotel, and I'm like, don't touch anything because you can't afford to replace it if you break it.
That's what insurance is for. I'm gonna.
Yeah, touche, touche. But yeah, I do struggle with that whole mentality of such extravagance, and then they need more resources for the homeless and the
Yeah, yeah,
sick
yeah,
and stuff like that. So it's like, could you dumb it down by say $2 or $3 million and perhaps filter that money into education or something? Like
yeah,
you can still have
yeah.
a great time, and it doesn't have to be gold encrusted with the crystal.
Yeah.
No. So I wonder, I mean, it's probably not true, but I wonder how much that stuff isn't really real. Like it's kind of been patched up over the years, like it's gold plated, but the wording is changed.
I wonder. I wonder if they have the real thing behind bars, but when they're out in
Yeah,
public, you'd think they'd have a fake version of it because
yeah,
what if
because
they
Tom
got
Cruise
taken?
could totally steal that shit. I've watched Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
He could totally steal that shit.
Yeah, so they're probably and the gold ones are probably like you said, so heavy that you can't lift it. And
It's got a
this
little
one, they're just
tiny
like,
plaque on it that
well,
says
they got a really
replica.
old man that's picking up like this as if it's like weighs nothing.
It's
So
like, this one's made of
your
foam.
thing's probably
Pretend
fine.
it's heavy.
Or what about when they put the crown on the head? Like it must be so heavy because you see it,
Yeah.
and they kind of fix their hair, and they're like,
Yeah, it's like, don't let it slip because if this breaks, it's coming out of your pocket money.
it must be quite heavy unless it's not the real thing. Because like,
Just imagine it popping off and then one tiny little crystal just boings out. You're like, oh man, there's another 100 grand.
yeah,
Gotta get that fixed.
yeah, I want to be that. I'm kidding. No, I don't want to be them. I want a nice crown. That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
but one that fits properly because you see them sit on their head and you're just like, don't move, don't move. All right. So today's topic is my client in hypnosis?
This is going to be a real interesting topic, and it's
Yes.
very controversial. Like,
Mm.
this would start a war in those Facebook groups. Like a lot of things start war, and people don't really know how the hypnotherapy community can be a little bit. What would it be like? Some people are stuck in their ways, not prepared to give a little bit. So you can see really good conversations about, is zero subconscious? Is hypnosis real? Like you see it, you see them, and they're great to watch because people go, there's a bit of conflict there. So this is one of those questions that that people have different opinions on, and to be honest, no one's absolutely right anyway, because no one can actually pinpoint it as such,
Exactly. And honestly, I think it comes down to a combination of experience
Yeah.
and like what you've been working with and trial and error, obviously. And then also recognizing that there are some people that are players out there, but that is a form of trance. If you can be on the ball to flip the coin.
Yeah.
So I once had a client and I kind of knew he was one of these people that was coming to me because his dad wanted him to, and we were really good friends with the father, and I did parts therapy with him, and I said to him, I said, so what does the part look like for your life, blah blah blah, and honestly, if he had his eyes open, you'd go, you're just making this shit up.
Yeah.
The only difference was that he had his eyes closed and he went, I'm a marshmallow. And I'm like, you're not even in hypnosis, dude. You're not even playing the game properly. Like, if you're going to act out a part, do it bloody properly. But in saying that, if you're on the ball fast enough with those particular clients, you can actually get them to drop in even faster.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you know that someone's in hypnosis?
Okay, so for me, number one of the things I say to people about hypnosis when they say I can't be hypnotized, I pretty much say to them, is there anything that you're doing in your life that you don't want to be doing, but you can't stop doing it? Why can't you stop? Like, and to me, I describe people as you're in a trance of doing it. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think that we're in and out of hypnosis all day, every day, at different. And to me, it's just different states that we're in.
Just different levels, yeah.
Different levels of different. We call them altered states of consciousness, really. And what I find is that people, when I look in their eyes, people walk in and they're in a trance of their story of what they're going to tell me. How do I know that they're in that trance? They're looking at me, they're emotional, they're telling me a story about something that isn't real, especially if they're telling me like, oh, I'm scared of this or scared of that. Well, you're not there right now. And their mind is imagining, and while their mind's imagining, their eyes are glazed over and they're staring at me with focused attention. So
Yeah.
in that point, I was teaching my students the other day, we have such a massive responsibility to understand that every word that we say in the clinic is hypnotic, meaning we're a person of authority. They trust us. They're in altered states all of the time with us, especially when they're listening and their eyes are glazed over. So what we say is going to have power over how they think. And we've got to be careful not to say things that could actually make things worse. So language is so important. So for me, I do watch for signs in the person, but for me, hypnosis is not someone that's got their eyes closed in a deep state. They look like they're asleep. We've counted down to 100. Even when I'm in town and looking at someone having a conversation, I can see when their mind's drifted into an altered state or not, and how present they are. For me, the whites of the eyes is a real telltale. So when I'm talking to someone and their whites are quite white and stuff, and we're having this conversation, it's really easy for me to see when they're in a state where I could probably make a suggestion and they'd follow along. But it's people think hypnosis is this deep, and we are, when we go into Esdale and those deeper states that they name, there are things you look for, when you're wanting to work with ideomotor and deeper states of trance and stuff. But for me, we're in it a lot. I'm in it a lot when I'm on the computer. I can tell. Yeah, I'm following someone scratches their head, and I'm scratching my head thinking, wake up, Justine. I'm following the instructions of the person that's leading me. Do you know
Mirroring him. Yeah. Maybe it needs to be a better constructed question. So rather than how do I know if my client's in hypnosis, it should be how do I recognize the level of trance or the level of altered states? How do I recognize that?
That's a really good, yeah, because like with the hypnosis itself, how they say, they were trying to call hypnosis brainwaves, but what they found was that all the brainwaves are active at all the same time with people, and so they couldn't accurately.
No, I don't know. There's some people with brainwaves that I reckon it's flatlined.
But you know what I mean? So they haven't actually been able to pinpoint certain levels of trance. They have been able to see similarities in like what they call the Esdale state, where people can be cut open and stuff. Yes. They have been able to find similar things in the brain and brain scans. But aside from that, it's, when we're talking to students and stuff, what are the things we notice? Maybe we could talk about what do we notice when we are doing the traditional old school.
Yeah.
What do we notice? Do you know what I mean? Because that's kind of more pulled in.
Yeah.
What do you notice?
Well, for me personally, when you're doing your hypnosis session, so when we're going into the deep trance states, when it comes to your induction, a lot of people think you can go instant and it's just quick induction. You have to navigate your client on that induction, because the induction is actually a training stage. So it's training your client to use their imagination and bypass the conscious. That's what you're doing. You are training your client. And I have no issues whatsoever of when I get my client, especially for those first times, I'll say to him, let's do some training. Remember, you do it your way, and it's completely okay to make mistakes, because that's what you do in training. You learn. And they're not going to make mistakes when they're inside of it. But during that training phase, so that induction, as we call it, if you're getting to the end of it and your client isn't changing their breathing levels, isn't really relaxing to the chair, still bolt upright, isn't trusting you as such, because you might have rapport, but they still have trust issues, If your
Yeah, yeah,
client isn't going into those relaxed states, then you have to extend it out. Your training for them is not complete.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And
And that's
sometimes we
interesting.
have
Yeah.
have to do multiple deepeners or multiple convincers. So multiple deepeners might be like first you walk down 5 steps and you come to an area, and then you walk down another 5 steps and you come to an area. So I think there's a lot of misconception around inductions, because inductions, sure, the training gets faster because that's where you get into your instant inductions. But your client would have had to have like been somnambulistic in the first place, or has had several hypnosis sessions before and really, really trusts you, or is ready. They just want to be in hypnosis. I have
Yeah, yeah,
one
yeah.
lady that just wanted to be in hypnosis. Like, I wouldn't say she was addicted, but I would say that she really loved the power of it. And she used to come to me once a month just to weed the garden, as we called
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And she'd sit in the chair and she'd go, okay. And she'd always grab my cat because she always wanted the cat on her lap. And she'd always grab my cat, put it on the lap, and she goes, I'm ready. And I'm like, all right, go into hypnosis. That was it. That was the training. That was the induction.
I think you made two really good points there, and one is that when we're talking about these kind of what they deeper states, deeper altered states, or more kind of the more the ones that you feel really good.
Mm.
The one people say to me, like, what stops people going into those states? And for me, it's 100%. It's got to do with their nervous system and how safe they feel in that environment, and
Mm.
that is 100% that. And when I was so when we're talking about those like hypnosis states where you go into ears down and different things and you use an induction to get down into it, I was one of those people when I came into hypnosis that hadn't had a good experience, that hadn't been able to visualize, that hadn't been able to go deep. And I think it was Ines Simpson that said to me, it's always fear that stops people going places. And I'm like, no, that's not true. But at the end of the day, it was 100%, because even the need to control the session or to have it just being dark and my mind coming back up, like listening again and being quite active, because it was like almost moving into a place that I obviously found must have at some level uncertain. It's really interesting that working in these states has got a lot to do with how safe the person feels. And it's not, like you said, it's not personal to the therapist. It's how safe the person feels in the world. Do you know what I mean? And that and having that trust and rapport with the hypnotherapist is huge, because if you feel like someone's got you and they're with you and they're watching over you and you're safe, you sleep better even. Do you know what I mean? But in this kind of stage, the more safe and the more you feel with that person, that person's got you, it
Mm.
gets to a point where you let go. And that's what happened to me. I let go.
Mm.
And for me, when I did finally let go, my sensation was this like a total, like, yeah, total
Yeah,
relaxation, total.
I absolutely agree. It's definitely a fear thing, but there's also from based on my experience, this is only me personally. I think there's also a secondary thing once you push past fear. So the secondary segue is therapists or the professional student as such. Nothing wrong with learning stuff all the time. Full
Yeah,
advocate for it. However, it's also knowing when to step out of learning mode and into hypnosis change mode.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
when you're a professional student, or you're the kind of person that likes to learn all the time, and especially therapists, when you're kind of person that likes to learn all the time, you can come into hypnosis sessions, and I've done it myself, and you come into these hypnosis sessions, and what if they do something that's a little bit different, and then you could level up your services? You're going to miss out on that. And you have to
yeah,
bring
yeah.
yourself back to being present, like
And being a client, yeah.
step into that client mode, that healing mode, and just trust the process. Because it's not so much like that the fear of missing out. It's just that you want to level it up. You want to, be
I've
the best you
actually,
could possibly be.
Trish, I've had that. So I've had people come to me that didn't actually want to train, but they came to want because they wanted to learn the technique without doing the
Mm.
training. And so they'll want a session with me,
Mm-hmm.
and it would just go really nowhere
Mm.
in the
Just goes
session. And then
pear-shaped.
at the end, they'd say to me, "Oh, I was actually just wanting to learn your technique." And I'm like, "Well, why didn't you just book in like a mentoring session or something, and I could run you through it?" And it really did alter the way the session went because they were keeping themselves so aware and not like embracing the
Yeah, and
process.
not
And
just like
I would
delving in.
feel it. I would feel it so quickly because I'm like, hey, this person's learning, and it could be done in a different way.
Mm.
So that really is a big thing when you're starting to learn hypnosis, wanting to hear everything and wanting to know everything, and having
Mm.
um that level of consciousness
So
there.
me, it's not so much about learning the technique. It's just, oh, what if I miss out on that one little thing
Exciting.
that could
Yeah.
be a little, yeah, it's exciting. I'm like, I'm searching for it, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm listening, I'm listening, I'm listening. Trish, just be present for fuck's sake. Be present, and like it's one thing that we especially as therapists, we need to learn to be more present as well. So
Yeah.
I've lost track of like the amount of therapies I've been to over the years, and we'll still have more. It's as simple as that. And that people don't put their phone away, or they leave the computer running with notifications and stuff. Even just going for a massage or something like that. Be present. Just be present. That's all you've got to do. And the only place that a lot of people are present is when they're trying to go to sleep. But during the day,
Yeah.
they've trained themselves to not be present. And then when they try and go to sleep to be present, they're thinking about all the other stuff because they've trained themselves to not be present.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, be more
Yeah.
present. So if you're a therapist or somebody who likes to chronically learn, be present in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's why when I have my clients, I'm like, right, let's go through the training process first. We're always training, remember?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Always leveling up. And to me, it kind of like switches off that student mode, but switches it on as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's like the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
grey area.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
This kind of flows into, like, how you were talking about before with training your clients with hypnosis. One thing that I find with the brain is that people, or brain or consciousness or whatever it is we're tapping into, people work their bodies, like they go to the gym, they do exercise. There's a
Mm.
whole focus on that. And to me, working with altered states and working with our nervous system requires, it's almost like exercise. So
It's just
so
gym for the
the more
brain.
the more you do hypnosis, the better you get at it. The more there's huge talk at the moment about people that can't see. It's called aphasia or something,
Yeah,
right?
aphasia. Yep.
That was me, right? And
Aphantasia, it's called.
I decided actually we all have the ability to have all our senses working well. And so I spent about 7 years training my mind to become more and more visual. I started with my front door, trying to picture what my front door looked like. And it would start and it would start, and it took me ages, but I worked on it and worked on it. And now I'm having very vivid dreams with color. And when I go into hypnosis, there's times now where I'm actually there, and I'm like, I come out going, "Whoa!" I had visuals, and it was
It's
actually,
exciting.
it's training. And I think with hypnosis and our clients, like you said at the start, teaching our clients to go into these states,
Mm.
not just expecting people, or you can do it or you can't do it, or things aren't working.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything else, it's parts of, we're training our brain how to work with us. We're
Well,
training our imagination,
when
you
it
know.
comes to my clients, when I get those clients that go, I can't see, doesn't matter where we are, whether we're in the clinic or like I had one the other day when I was shooting pool, right? So I had a mate that I was shooting pool with, and he asked me what I did, and I finally told him I'm a hypnotherapist, because usually I just say I work in customer service and leave it at that, because it's just too controversial in that environment. And because trust me, everyone at pool comp needs hypnotherapy, seriously. And when we were shooting pool, he asked me, and I said, I'm actually a hypnotherapist. And he's like, oh, I can't be hypnotized, I've been told. And then I used your comeback where I said, well, what do you have an issue with, taking instructions or using your imagination? And it
Crazy.
stumped him. And he goes, no, I can't visualize. So the way I segue with that is I always say to him, like, so I turned to him. I don't want to say his name in case he's listening. So I turned to him and I said to him, I said, let's do an experiment. Just entertain me for a few moments. Because that's what people want to do. They want to tell you stories. They want to entertain you. I'm like, just entertain me for a few moments. And I always call it an experiment. I'm not going to call it a test or a challenge. I always call it an experiment. And they're like, oh, okay. So he's like, yep. All right, let's do an experiment. I said, all right, stand at the end of the pool table. So he did that. And I said, I want you to look at all the balls. So this is a Tony Robbins technique. So it's called Seek and You Shall Find. And I said to him, I said, I want you to look at all the balls and I want you to find the black ball. And he's like, yep, I've got it. I said, now bank it in your memory where it is. And he goes, yep, I've got it. I said, now close your eyes. And he closes his eyes. I said, so tell me where the black ball is. And he just points to it. And I said to him, I said, that's what we mean when we're saying you will see something inside of hypnosis. You can look, you can find, you can visualize. I said, you can't actually see it like you would in reality here, but in your eyes, you know where that black ball is. And now if I ask you where the white ball is, you would have an approximation of where the white ball is. Point to it now. And he'll point to it. And I'm like, there you go. That's how you do it. So all I've done is break it down for them of what visualizing actually means. Like I can't see in hypnosis. So that's all I've done, because people think they're going to close their eyes and they're instantly going to see everything as if they had their eyes open.
And I think it's only a very, there's a misconception. It's only a very small amount of the public that can actually do that.
Yeah. I think that is a very, very small amount. But, because I always put it as an experiment and then we do the training. So it's the induction. And I'll just take them through it. And when I do my inductions, especially when it comes to people, unless it's a spiritual thing, when I'm doing my inductions, I'm going with ambiguous things. So ambiguous means to generalize. So when I'm doing an induction, I will say something along the lines of, you're walking through a forest and you notice green leaves. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because most leaves are green. So it's ambiguous, where I will never say to them, you meet a person, like never in the induction, you will meet a person, they are female, they are Oriental descent, blah, 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 because they may not be able to do that. It's too specific for the training stage. You only get specific after you've done your deepener, because they've got to go through training. And it doesn't matter what you do in life, whether you're playing a video game or whether you're learning something really, really mundane, like how to use a self-checkout. It always starts with the simplest steps. And then it's like, now you can add this in and it gets a little bit more complex. And then you add this in and it gets a little bit more complex. And that's how a lot of hypnosis sessions or scripts go. You start off simple training, 1 to 2 steps, and then you add in more and more detail as you go. And you just keep on going.
And for me, hypnosis happens it's when your imagination or your imagined reality becomes more real than your outside reality. And for some people that happens instantly. They'll close their eyes and you say imagine something and they're there. And for others, it takes the steps, or it takes bringing in emotion, or it takes something to where they hit that point where the outside world is gone and I'm actually in with what you're saying. And that's like what you're saying, for some people it takes just slowly bringing it to that point. And for me, the tipping point for someone being in hypnosis and not being in the hypnosis is when the imagined reality.
But that's how all the problems started, or even all the solutions. That's how everything started. 100%. So when the anxiety started, it didn't just go, oh, I'm going to have severe anxiety today and I'm going to annoy the shit out of you. It didn't just wake up and decide to do that. It was slowly growing inside, and then it got triggered to a state of being uncontrollable. So it was training you, but the problem was that you were training it to be part of you rather than training it to go, this is what I don't want in my life, and I need to recognize these triggers around me, So it always starts off small. Sure, it can speed up, but it always starts off so small. So even when it comes to your own happiness, your own relaxation, your own, joy, you have to start off small. Because
Mm.
trust me, being that ha ha ha, ah, ha ha, happy happy first thing all the time, that's not healthy.
Yeah.
But you can get to a stage where you're happy majority of the time or content majority of the time, and that's your world. And it becomes habitual, it becomes automatic. But you have to
Yeah.
start off small with your goals and then work towards them. And some
Yeah.
people will get towards them super duper fast. I cannot stand those people who exercise once a year and are still fit and healthy. I just thought about cake and I lost the last 20 days of fitness. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and some people
Yeah.
get there faster than others.
Yeah, that's the same. With hypnosis is like one thing that's interesting with hypnosis. Like we do have this enamorist. Like I've got lots of people around me that are like that. But even then, those people got to a place where I can just say to them anything with their eyes open and
Yeah,
they'll
it
follow.
happened with time
But
and
it happened with
training.
time and trust and rapport
Yeah.
and knowing that I'm not gonna do things that are not going to harm them. I've got one friend that I can do pretty much nearly anything on. But if I said to another really, really astoundingly good hypnotherapist, go and do this to this person, they're not going to get a response out of that person because they don't know them yet.
Mm,
So, for people, even if they're listening to this and thinking about depth of trance for that kind of work,
mm,
it is a stage and it's something you learn and it comes with, you know what I mean? It's
mm.
for some people it can just be instant, but they've usually had either maybe some trauma or they've done other things to train their brain to get there into that space. You know what I mean?
And
And
when you're doing that traditional hypnosis stuff, where you sit in the chair, you do your induction, etc., you want the client to be in that relaxed state. So the slower breathing, the slower articulation. And if you really need to test it, so whether you do a convincer of your eyes are closed, they feel really heavy, you can try to open them, but they won't. Whether you do a
yeah,
convincer or not, sometimes isn't even relevant. But what you can do is just ask them to nod for you or
mm,
to raise a finger. And that will give you confirmation that this person, because trust me, if you've got somebody sitting there and you turn to them and you're like, raise your finger because you're going here, and they're like, chances are you need to do your training a little bit longer. Or if
yeah,
you got
yeah,
somebody that's like, raise your finger if you're here, and then they'll go,
yeah,
really good stuff. We're in a relaxed state, we're in a trusting state. And this is also relevant in animals as well. So, as much as humans are animals, this is relevant in animals as well. So, when animals tuck their legs underneath themselves, that's because they trust the environment and they know that they can't respond to escape as fast as they normally could. So, they're in that trusting state. And this is exactly the same with your client in your room. When they're doing that, they are in that trusting state because if there's an emergency and they need to get out, they're going to be slower.
yeah,
And that is the trusting state. If you've got someone that's gone like this or they've nodded, they're not in that trusting state yet. Continue with your induction and get them to drop deeper. It doesn't matter if your session is longer. We've got to get them to go into that trusting state and bypass that emergency exit survival mode.
mm, cool.
So that's another tip for anyone who is not quite sure if their client is really going into that theta stage, because the theta stage is where you're still aware but you're almost not, and you can pick yourself up and out, assess the scene. Am I safe? I'm completely safe.
And I'm gone.
And I'm gone. And some people, like I said before, they drop straight into it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
other
yeah, yeah,
people, you've got to test the state. Like, just keep on going with that induction if you need to. And then that's when you can go into your facts, your responsibility, your PHS, your future projection, whatever it is that you want to do. I'm a huge fan of three-phase metaphors. So that's where we weave the metaphors in with adjoined words, or we say something along the lines of, I was talking to Justine the other day that said that Melody said that it's a really good time to just relax now.
yeah.
So you use those three phases to get the post-hypnotic suggestion into the unconscious. So that's how we test to see if our clients are in hypnosis. But I think a better question is recognizing the different altered states rather than when is a client in hypnosis. Are you going to start following the royal family now?
Me?
Yeah, you. No, the other person that's here.
Do. Not purposefully.
I'll see something on TikTok.
Pops up on TikTok and you just
flip. Sometimes I'll do that, but I see people that collect all the memorabilia and go to all the TV things and then watch the documentaries and stuff like that, and I'm like, hey, awesome.
Like you said, it's real life, like Big Brother, or it's real life.
It's just another version of Big Brother.
It's real life stuff.
It's like the Kardashians. Did you know the Kardashians are not famous for doing anything besides from people watching how they live?
Yeah.
So it's not like they were an actor. It's not like they were an actor or a singer or anything like that first. They literally just exist.
For being themselves. Yeah, like I say, with the royal family, I love seeing some form of tradition because it's almost like it takes you back to a time where just a different time from now. It like takes you out of your reality for a moment. And sometimes I'll watch things thinking, oh, this is what it would have been like, in the 1600s or in the 1500s. It's like a little piece of history continuing. And I don't know how long it will continue for, but I do like seeing the history in it.
I don't think it's changing anytime soon because I've seen a few, those fact things that you see like on TikTok and stuff like that. And they talk about how anybody in the royal family that has royal duties doesn't play video games. Like, boring. Or they're like, anybody in the royal family has never eaten junk food, so they don't eat like KFC, Macca's or anything like that.
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to follow them. I'm going to catch them out. I bet you they have whiskey. I bet you they have damn good alcohol. They're probably old school, where they used to have big glasses.
I don't think they have whiskey at KFC, darling. I mean, if they do, that's different KFC, I suppose. But apparently they're little things, and there's certain foods they won't eat, like pasta and things like that. And it's like, oh, okay, right.
It's probably why they're so very little.
Well, then again, I suppose if I had a personal chef, I wouldn't have to worry about eating pasta. I just eat whatever they put in front of me. I don't think about it. Yeah. All right, everybody, if we gave you some value here today, please let us know in the comments. And like Justine said, if you want to find out about that YouTube series, that video with disassociation, then let her know and she'll try and find it. Okay, because I know I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube and then I think, oh, wish I'd saved that because I can't find it anymore. So let her know in the comments.
Yeah, if you do want to watch all the replays, apart from having little snippets everywhere that you can find, they're on Spotify now as well. So you have to look up.
Awesome.
Look up Spotify for us. I'm just putting them on there as well as a podcast.
Ooh, awesome.
So, and they're not edited. They're exactly the same as they are now. So it's quite funny because people probably can't see our reactions and stuff. But I just thought, well, we're still fun to listen to sometimes. So
why not? Why not? Awesome. Well, we'll catch everybody in a fortnight. Don't know what the next topic will be, but we'll find it.
Yeah, definitely.